Okay, welcome to Fat Loss Simplified. This is a free I'm going to stand up because I can't sit down and do a presentation at the same time. This is a two-part workshop, something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, to discuss diet culture as a whole and how following that style of dieting, right, restrictive eating and extremism on either side can be causing you to not see the results that you're looking for if it comes to weight loss, fat loss, and all the other things. So real quick, Fat Loss Simplified, if you don't remember, is a two-part workshop where we're going to dive into 2 needle-moving strategies from my 9-step proven method. Yes, I have 9 steps in this formula that will help you start losing fat and seeing the scale drop over the next 3 months. That is the goal. And if you don't know who I am, I feel like I know all of you, but I'm going to just say this again. My journey to sustainable strength. I was a trainer in New York City, and I was also a burnt out athlete. So I was in this obsessive cycle of restricted yo-yo diets and overtraining. So my restrictive eating kind of was a little bit different in terms that I was making weight, but really what I was doing was not healthy or sustainable, and it really burnt me out in ways that my mood was crazy. I was always hungry. I was always frustrated, and I just my sleep was all over the place. And especially as an athlete and a trainer, I was working out nonstop. So I was craving a reset, and I moved to Vermont to a life that forced me to slow down. I actually learned how to farm for 7 months, and I learned how to tune into my body and stop fighting against it. But and what you'll learn in this workshop is because I was restricting for 2 years with such unhealthy habits, unsustainable habits, my metabolism went haywire, and I gained 25 pounds in 7 months. I was still working out, I was still eating healthy, but I was just putting on weight. I couldn't lose it. It was just coming on. And it was because of this yo-yo dieting that was wreaking havoc on my body. So by focusing on balance instead of extremes, I lost 20 pounds and more importantly, kept it off. And here I am in Asbury Park, where I help coach women over 35 do the same. By sustainably losing fat, or losing weight, right? Whatever you want to say, building muscle and regaining their confidence with the methods that I've learned. So in part 1, we're going to be talking about diet culture. We're going to be talking about that all or nothing thinking, which is kind of a part of diet culture, and why women over 35, if you are having trouble losing weight, why you can't. We're going to talk about this new, better approach, and then the 1 needle moving strategy we're going to talk about today, and then I'm going to give you some homework. We'll go over some Q&A, and then part 2 will be all about the 2nd needle moving strategy. There'll be less beginning background stuff, so it'll be a little bit quicker for part 2, but just in general, I needed to ramp it up and tell you all these things now so that you can paint the picture for later. So if you've related to any of these, you know you're in the right place. So I just wanted to make sure that you're in this for the right reasons, right? So maybe you're also identify as an obsessive yo-yo dieter or a burnt out athlete or an athlete back in the day, and just what you did back in the day is not working, right? These are all things that you could maybe relate to. So maybe you've had some wins with weight loss in the past, but it always seems to creep back, right? That yo-yo culture. You're stuck in a weight loss pattern maybe, and no matter what you try, the scale isn't budging and you're just stuck there. You still have that athletic drive, but now in your 30s and beyond, your body is definitely changing and it's throwing you off. That was me at 31, where I was like, what the hell's happening? I'm so athletic right now and nothing seems to be working. You live in cycles of deprivation, rigid rules, followed by overindulgences and binge eating. This was totally me when I was training for boxing fights. You want to lose weight and feel fit, but setting boundaries and being disciplined feels impossible. Or maybe your workouts leave you drained, or worse, you don't even have the energy to finish them. And also you hate diet culture, but it's the only way you know how to lose weight, and you really want to find a way that is sustainable, right? Deep down, you know you want to do something. So let's try to figure this out together, right? Let's dig a little deeper, right? These are some things that maybe you've tried in the past, right? I've done pretty much all of these. And if you have, you can also comment which ones you've done, just so people know that you're not alone, because I've literally done all these. I've tried every fad diet, supplement, taken all the fitness classes thinking this time it will finally work, but quit after a week when the results don't come fast enough. That was me in my 20s. I skipped meals to be good all day, only to end up binging on sweets all night. That was also me in my 20s. I use the scale as your only metric of success and label food as either good or bad. Maybe you've pushed through hard workouts without rest days to earn your calories or cocktails, right? You're working out to eat whatever you want to eat later in the day. Maybe you've followed rigid rules without listening to your body's needs, eating only 1,200 calories because that's what diet culture says, treating all foods the same, and are confused by food labels. Maybe you've skipped weights or avoided heavy lifting because you're afraid of looking bulky. Big thing I feel like I see all the time on social media. Maybe you've been good all week, but the moment your friends or family are with you, you fall right back into old habits, or you avoid going out because you know you'll get out of control. Maybe you've created that vision board back January 1st and you're daydreaming about this new lifestyle, but you won't start because you don't have the motivation to take action. If you have done any of these, you can say 1 through 8 which one you've done, but these are just things that I've noticed, one, working with my own clients and myself, as to like where they are before we've worked together. And you know you're in the right place if you desire to build a badass body in a sustainable way with no diets, just no fads, just real results. You want to say goodbye to diet culture and learn how to actually listen to your body so you'll never need to chase another supplement or trend again. You desire to reset your metabolism so it works for you, not against you, meaning successful fat loss and building lean muscle. And then maybe you also desire to regain your confidence and finally feel the momentum to fuel and move your body without ever depending on fleeting motivation or discipline, right? This is the time for your metamorphosis and to finally make results stick. So let's talk real quick about diet culture. Diet culture is a system of beliefs and values that prioritize weight. If you've ever done a diet and you want to write it in the chat which ones you've done, I've done Weight Watchers before. I've done boxing. I'm just going to call that restrictive eating, having really rigid rules that prioritizes your weight, body size, and appearance over your overall health and well-being, right? It's using weight and that number as the only means of success. It glorifies thinness over as the ideal body type and equates a person's worth with their ability to control how their body through eating, intense exercise, and other weight-focused behaviors, right? So the mindsets or the red flags of diet culture, it's like thinness obsession. They label foods as good or bad, which I was just talking about in the other slide, right? They encourage a quick fix. So restricted diets, cleanses, right? Juice cleanses are probably all the rage right now in January. Dry January, right? Quick fix. Extreme exercise is normal, right? It perpetuates unrealistic standards, so leading to poor body image and disordered eating. It also promotes a one-size-fits-all approach to your diet, fitness, and nutrition. This may have worked maybe when you were younger, right? When your metabolism was roaring and like your energy was high and you were youthful, right? We're still youthful, right? We're definitely still youthful, but it just becomes unsustainable as we move on and we start working, right? And we start living a life where we don't have time to focus on, we're not young. We're not in our 20s. Let's just say that. We're still young, not in our 20s. So introducing this deprivation indulgence scale. So there's two extremes. You got your deprivation, your restriction. I have to be perfect or else, right? Or you have your indulgence. I ruined it. I might as well go all out. Most people live on either side. Restrict, 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 and you think like this pendulum swing. Eventually you're going to get all the way to the top and you're going to release and you're going to go to the binge on the other side, the indulge, right? It's like either one or the other. No one really lives in this like gray area right here where I have these arrows. And diet culture preys on this mindset, aka a yo-yo diet cycle. When you ping pong between the two, it's only a matter of time before you feel the effects, whether it's like the weekend, the next week, or the next month. It's really, really hard to stay on these diets because they're so extreme, right? Meals don't happen in isolation. They're really a part of the bigger picture, the bigger pattern. And if we don't know how to stay in the middle or navigate the middle, it's going to feel really hard, and you're going to always feel frustrated in your results as to why you can't keep the weight off or keep success in what you're doing because it's so extreme. So, and that's the all or nothing mentality, right? A lot of people live here, and it's why you can't sustain, right? This mindset is really hard for diet culture. I'm just gonna look at this real quick. Atkins, right? Okay, yep. Atkins diet was a huge, right? That's keto, I believe, or like a basically similar, right? No carb, low carb diet. So why can't you sustain this mindset? Physiology versus psychology, right? You can't outsmart your body's responses or override how your mind's going to work, right? Your hunger cues are still going to be your hunger cues, and it's going to eventually flip-flop to the other side. Think of this as like a scarcity mindset, this all or nothing mindset. There's extreme highs and lows in eating behaviors. It reinforces the idea that food is scarce and triggering binge behavior. Think like when you're going on vacation, right? You're dieting for vacation or New Year's resolutions. There's 75 hard. There's all these challenges, like 21-day challenge, or I need to restrict, and then I'm just going to eat all out on vacation. Like you're kind of just going back and forth between these extremes. And it kind of puts foods in an off limits category, right? You're labeling foods as good or bad. And that's a belief that we can't trust our own intuition and we can't trust ourselves around them, right? It leads to urgency, and then we end up rebound overeating, which is why so many people go on and off diets. So learning to navigate the middle ground, aka mindfulness or moderation of this scale, is what a growth mindset is, right? It's what the abundance mindset is, where mindfulness, moderation, where you can make balanced choices and feel consistent. But it's very hard to stay in, right? Especially because of the diet culture. So why do women over 35 struggle to lose weight and keep it off, right? Our metabolism doesn't just stop working because we're aging. It might slow down a little bit, but I wouldn't say, oh, I'm 36 years old, my metabolism is slowing down. It is affected by a lot, right? So let's just talk about your metabolism real quick, right? It's a chemical reaction that converts food you eat into energy. It's going to help you maintain basic bodily functions. So breathing, blood circulation, body temperature, cell repair, and it's also broken down into two main components. So your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, is basically if you did nothing and you just laid and you didn't do anything, that was the amount of calories you burn at rest. We all have that based off of our age, just based off our age, I believe, and our weight, and our height. And then the total energy expenditure is basically any energy burned from anything else, physical activity, going to the bathroom, going to work, right? Any other thing that you do, digestion is going to be the total energy expenditure. And it's also influenced by your age, genetics, muscle mass, activity level, and hormones, right? So metabolism is influenced a little bit by it, but there's also, it's impacted by also a lot too. So if you are working out, your metabolism will be a lot more revved up versus someone that's sitting and doing nothing all day. And then there's just two types of calorie surplus or calorie deficit. So when you're in a surplus, that's when, I'm going to call it the binge cycle, right? When your body stores energy as fat, aka weight gain, when you're exceeding your basal metabolic rate and your total energy expenditure with amount of calories. Calorie deficit is weight loss, right? Aka fat loss, when your body uses stored fat as energy. And your metabolism is impacted also by sleep, stress, and extreme dieting. So when we're in a caloric deficit, we're going to just talk with that because I feel like we're all here for fat loss, right? This is where most people go wrong. They jump into extreme restriction too hard, too fast, for too long, right? You need to be in a caloric deficit in order to lose weight. That's just how it works, right? But here's what happens when you stay in a perpetual cycle and you go from one extreme of eating all the time to completely restricting. Like think about New Year's resolutions right now because we're in January, right? It's going to trigger a stress response, and it's going to lead to hormonal imbalances, right? Your thyroid function, which is basically controls and regulates your metabolism, can also dysfunction when you have when you're constantly in extreme restriction. Leptin, which is your hunger hormone, it signals when you're hungry, can also cause you to overeat if you're staying in this extreme restriction. And cortisol, which controls stress, can drive cravings and also hold on to inflammation, right? That's your stress hormone. So hormones kind of go all out of whack. And your metabolism adapts by slowing down. So when you're in a caloric deficit, so say you're having 1,200 calories, so I feel like that's like the magic number that everyone has. When you slow down and your metabolism is going to slow down to conserve energy, right? Your body becomes more efficient at burning less. This is what happened to me when I went from the extreme boxing like restriction to gaining the 25 pounds, right? My metabolism was only burning X amount of calories because that's all it knew, right? It's not an immediate shift. It's going to take months, but I was doing this for years. So my metabolism was garbage, right? Loss of muscle mass. What happens when you stay in this extreme restriction, right? It's really hard for you to gain muscle tissue when you are in a caloric deficit. Muscle tissue is also more metabolically active than fat. So meaning when you have more muscle on your body, you're going to burn more calories at rest, right? That BMR is going to go up, right? You're going to lose muscle. When you lose muscle, it decreases your BMR at a faster rate. So you're actually, when you don't have muscle, or you're not working out and you're only extreme dieting, it's going to decrease your BMR, and your calories burned during and after workouts are also going to start dropping. So no matter what you're doing in the gym, it's also going to kind of not really work. And when you finally go off the diet, your metabolism and hormones go into overdrive, leading to overeating. So this ping pong effect from binge to restrict also affects our mindset, right? We feel like this all or nothing mindset, this shame spiral, because we feel like we lost control of our eating. We feel like we can't do anything right. We're not perfect. This sucks. And you feel frustrated. This is why most restrictive diets not only fail, but also leave you worse off. And that's why many people, regain more weight than they initially lost. And this is how I got into the state that I was in, like I was saying, when I was eating. So here is me in my yo-yo diet behavior. In 2010, I was 22, right? Let's just say this is college. So that's really what college did to me. But I was in definitely a yo-yo diet behavior in college, restricting, binging. And I was like around 140 pounds. I don't know exactly, maybe 138 to 140 something. 2017, this is when I was in like peak performance. I'm going to say it's like 128 pounds, very, very lean, very unsustainable. I could only do it for 2 years, and then I was like, I have to get out. Then when I went to Vermont, I gained 25 pounds, 2019, so 2 years later. And then by like 2021, 2022, I got back down to 133, which was like, when I wasn't in fighting shape, this is probably where I lived. So I feel comfortable. And it was like, this took time. And now I've kind of been at this weight for 3 years now, 4 years. But 2024, because that's when the picture was. But just in general, this is what can happen. And this is really why people are always like, I felt my best during this time because I was probably in dieting or restrictive eating or whatever. Or maybe it was when you were an athlete, right? And we can totally get there. That's also another thing. I'm athletic. I really wanted to still be here, but it was really hard for me to stay here the way I was doing it. So I figured out a way to get there sustainably. And that's what we're going to be talking about, right? This new approach. So the sustainable approach, slow and steady. It's over the all or nothing mindset, right? It's what people don't want to hear. It's unsexy. It's not cute. It's not like a fast fad, but it's really what needs to happen for you to see long-term results, have long-term longevity, balance, and well-being over these quick fixes and extremes, right? Realistic habits that are practical, enjoyable, and personalized to your unique needs. So think like these are, maybe you do or maybe you don't know them, but like steps, hydration, your macronutrients, your sleep, your recovery tools, strength, energy, all these things encompassed is these habits. But if we do them all at once, it's going to feel overwhelming, right? We need to prioritize that progress over perfection. This balanced approach improves energy, confidence, and quality of life. So it took me a while, right? It took me 2-3 years maybe to get to where I was. And I teach this in a signature group called Mentorship called Metamorphosis. And what we're going to be learning today are two of the formulas from my 9-step formula that I was telling you about. This is a 3-month group mentorship designed for women to lose fat sustainably and build muscle and regain confidence, right? So I'm not going to go over all these 9 steps right now. I'm going to actually go over them on Wednesday, but I just wanted to highlight this here because something is coming, but I wanted to make sure that I just showed you what these 9 steps are. And today and on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the 2 needle moving dials that I always talk about with my people in the beginning because it's very quick. You see results very quickly when you prioritize movement and macros, right? I'm not a big fan of counting your macros, but I'm also a fan of understanding what macros are and seeing where you are in general with them, right? So movement, specifically muscle, we're going to be talking about, and macros, specifically protein. And we're going to dive deep into both. And we're also going to dive deep into a little bit more nutrition and a little bit more besides strength training. But I do want to just reiterate what I am talking about. Ooh, I'm going to take a sip. If anyone has any questions, you can leave them there before we dive right into the muscle of it. If anyone has any questions about diet culture, I'd love to answer them. These are some of the client success stories I've had from people, right? Obviously, this didn't happen in 3 months. It happened sustainably and with a sustainable approach, but I've had people get in shape for their wedding. I've had people lose 10 pounds in a year, lose 17 pounds in 6 months, 8 pant sizes and 40 pounds down in a couple years when we were working together. And one of my clients lost a 1/2 inch off of her waist and 1 inch off of her chest in just 4 months. So lots can happen when you are focusing on just the 2 needle moving dials that I was chatting about. So movement, muscle, right? These are what we're going to be talking about. Strength training, moving more throughout your day, running, walking, cycling, and then sports recovery or sports and recovery walks and play. We're now a sedentary culture, right? We aren't as primal as we were back in hunter-gatherer days, so our bodies have adapted to this modern lifestyle. We aren't officially using our bodies in the way that we were intended to, meaning we sit more and move less, which affects our BMR, as I was talking about. Some of the movement mistakes. So if anyone is not working out currently, or let me know in the chat what you're doing currently so I know where your baseline is, whether that's like, I think I know what all of you guys do, but in general, just where you are, like what you do weekly would be helpful for me. So when it comes to fat loss, only doing cardio, not taking a rest day. These are some mistakes that I usually see, right? Only doing cardio, living on the treadmill, walking, running, biking, etc. All the spin, running club, right? Not taking a rest day, not working hard enough, right? Only doing like 5-pound weights, not really lifting heavy, only doing high intensity workouts. Think Orange Theory, CrossFit, sets, any high intensity thing, right? Only focusing on calories burned or how hard the workout was, right? That's how you base level of success if it was leaving you on the floor drained. Need to sweat after the workout. That means that you didn't work hard enough. Inconsistency in your routine, right? Just kind of going here and there, everywhere, whatever you feel like doing that day. And then improper form and technique, right? Movement, specifically ones that build muscle, is a needle moving strategy for fat loss, right? As we were talking about with our metabolism, more muscle means your fat is more muscle means higher BMR, which means more fat burning in your body, which is what we are looking for, right? Especially when people say they want to lose weight, it's really they don't and get toned. It's I want more muscle and I want to lose fat. When we want to lose weight, like, I don't know, even here, there were some pictures of me where I was like probably the same amount of weight here, but I looked more like not as muscular. So like it's really muscle to fat ratio is what you're looking for when it comes to your goals. Strength training. Well, let me look at the chat real quick. Momentum and walk runish, cycling and just started weight. Yep, perfect. All right, so we're just starting the movement strength training phenom, right? So strength training, you want to also think like structured programming versus random classes. And the reason why is because it's going to build consistency in your workout. When you just do random stuff and you just trying to figure out what you want to do, it's also going to, it's not going to like, your body's not going to really get used to it, and your body's not going to have that adaptation to build muscle. And so there's some of you that I know that love sports, right? You're an athlete, and you love to surf, or you love to do whatever it is that you cycle. I know, Mary, you just said cycle too, right? So if you love what you do, great. Strength training, I would find a routine, a consistent routine, so that when you do your sport, you can do it forever, right? So that you can continue to progress in that sport versus degress. So benefits to strength training for women, right? Build lean muscle. That's your fat burning engine, as we talked about. It's going to preserve muscle during fat loss. So basically, a lot of people always say, like, you can't lose weight and gain muscle. Yes, you can, because I have done it. So you want to, it preserves muscle, and then you also lose fat and lose weight. And boosts metabolism post-workout. It balances your hormones. It improves sustainability, which balances hormone, especially as we are aging, right? I have a lot of women who are in menopause right now, and this allows them to thrive as that is happening. And it also improves sustainability. Your confidence is going to feel high because you're going to feel better. You're going to notice that you're getting stronger, and your energy is going to be high. Your joint health will be better, which is really important. And then also improves bone density. So as we age, we lose bone mass, bone density, which can cause sarcopenia, osteoporosis, osteopenia, all the things, muscle loss, bone loss. We really want to preserve muscle, because osteoporosis is also another like pandemic that's kind of happening right now. And the more you strength train, the more you're going to have a solid base for your body. And it also reduces injury. So fat loss formula for movement, right? The more muscle we burn, the more sustainable fat loss is going to happen. So I wanted to just go over this fat loss formula. A structured strength program that focuses on progressive overload, right? So think progressive overload. What is that? It means you're gradually increasing weights, reps, or intensity as you go through the program, right? You're not going hard all the time. Each week, you're noticing yourself picking up heavier weights, getting stronger, feeling better, right? This is how slow and steady wins the race, right? Compound strength movements. So think squats, deadlifts, push-ups, pull-ups, bench presses, rows. Those main lifts are going to require a lot more energy than if you were to do bicep curls for 45 minutes. You also want power, which also we lose when we are aging. About 5 to 8% of power is lost each decade, which is huge. And especially as we get older, if we fall, there's a greater risk of us getting injured and not being able to walk again, like if you break a hip when you're older, because you're not prioritizing strength training, right? And conditioning and core are also huge. I'm going to break this down even more. You want to pair this with steady state cardio, which is huge for fat loss, right? So what really happens sometimes is people do this CrossFit-esque high intensity style workouts, then they pair it with like sprints and running and going hard, right? And then they pair it with like everything else, right? They just do it too much. So really, if we focus on a strength program and the steady state cardio, which is I call like recovery cardio, it's going to promote fat loss, and we'll talk about it. And then also I would love for you not to forget play and recovery walks. I love play. Basically everything I do is for play. And that allows me to be able to do what I love to do and feel strong as I'm doing it. That's supposed to take grounding, but nature too, getting outside is also great for fat loss. So the best strength training program for fat loss, breaking it down and giving you the actual programming for it. You can Google this stuff if you really wanted to follow one of their programs, right? But hypertrophy style, split style programming is going to help you with keeping muscle on and losing fat. So think bodybuilding style. I know that's kind of crazy, but it's true. When you do about 45-minute sessions where you are doing the total body, and you're focusing on different muscle groups per day, 3 to 4 times a week, in that progressive overload stage that I was telling you, right? Gradually increasing either the weight, the volume, or the intensity, meaning if you're doing more sets, if you're slowing down the tempo, if you're doing if you're doing 30 on, 30 off, but then the next week you do 35 on, 30 off or something, that's also increasing the intensity. And then compound movements and conditioning finishers. So when you're talking about those compound movements, those are your basic movements, push, pull, throw, squats, deadlifts. Then along with a finisher or power exercise, so think sprints or squat jumps or punches. If you're doing boxing, I'm going into my sport, right? Jump rope, anything that's going to get your heart rate up at the end is a great way to have this metabolic finisher that's going to keep burning calories after the workout's over. Just at the end, not the whole entire time, right? 6 to 12 reps per set. So that's 6 reps, meaning you repeat the exercise 6 to 12 times. I know we know this, but I'm just going to speak it out to you. And then 3 to 4 times of each exercise, right? This slow and steady hypertrophy style program is going to allow you to build muscle and burn fat, right? Because it's beginner friendly, it targets the entire body, and it burns fat without losing muscle, right? It's very sustainable. So see, these are some of the exercises that you would see in that, like push-ups, squats or wall squats, a little mobility core thing, split squats, lunges, wall slam, wall balls or whatever. All of those are going to help you with this fat loss program. And then so steady state cardio, I know I'm speaking a lot, I'm sorry. I'm almost done. It involves maintaining a consistent low to moderate intensity effort over an extended period of time. So steady state cardio, think if you've ever gone on the boardwalk, because I know a lot of you guys live in Asbury, right? You don't want to just walk at a leisurely pace. You want to think 3 to 10, 3 out of 10 on a scale if you were to do it, right? You want to think walk as if you're late, or if you're running or you're doing biking or whatever you're doing, you want to think that your heart rate should not exceed it's about 130. I don't really like to use heart rate, but if your level of intensity doesn't go past a 3, meaning you could probably sing while you're doing the exercise, or you can have a conversation with a girlfriend or a friend as you're walking. If you were to go any faster, you wouldn't be able to talk, right? That to me is that fat burning stage. That to me knows that, okay, I'm not just leisurely walking, I am going somewhere. What this does when you are in the steady state cardio base, it's going to improve your cardiovascular health, so your aerobic base, your endurance. It's going to make you be able to do things longer, faster without stressing out your body. And what that does is it's a great way for you to get in more steps, get in more burning of calories without stressing your body out. We want to live in a stress-free life every time besides working out, because strength training is a stressor. So when we strength train, we stress our bodies out, which is why if we add that with a high intensity spin, I know, Mary, you said that you do spin class. If your spin class is a 10 out of 10 or a 7 to 10 out of 10, and then you're strength training and that's also a 7 to 10 out of 10 or whatever it is, because it's still a stressor, it's a lot of compounding stress and your body's going to have a really hard time recovering. So when you do steady state cardio, it allows you to stay in this consistency phase where you can lose fat and build muscle at the same time. And then play-based movement. I just incorporated everything that I like to do. Playing, hanging, jumping, climbing, snowboarding, surfing, biking, boxing, right? Gardening I would say is a play-based movement. And my boot camps, right? So anything that feels playful to you, do more of, right? It makes you, it first of all, you're going to enjoy doing it. It's going to feel amazing because you love it. And sometimes, right, obviously snowboarding to me and surfing are sometimes stressors. Now, sometimes they're not because my nervous system isn't as dysregulated when I do it. But when you can incorporate play in here, your body is just going to feel better. You're not going to feel as stressed. It's not going to feel like work. So when we can incorporate all three in that formula that I was telling you, right, we end up having more success in our fat loss. We need to make sure that, though, the steady state cardio is actually steady state and it's not higher than that, because then you're going to be in that stressful state. You want to aim also for about 10K, 5 to 10K steps a day, right? The more steps you do, the more calories you burn, and the more your body isn't just staying in a stagnant state. Whew. Momentum membership. Just if anyone doesn't know, this is my online space. It's designed for badass women who want to rediscover the joy of movement through structured strength programs that build on each other for lasting results. I know, Mary, you're in it as well as Mel, but in this you get structured DIY strength programs ranging from 4 to 12 weeks that can be done at home or in a gym. You get virtual group training classes. We just had one at 6 p.m. where you get my eyes on your form, and it's guaranteed 2 to 4 times monthly that you'll get it. Roughly 1 time a week we do it. And then you also get a private group channel in Telegram, which is an app where we hold each other accountable, we support and celebrate each other, and it's just a great way for the community to be together while we are doing the workouts on our own. These workouts are in either recorded form, or I kind of give you a little breakdown of it and then you do it on your own. So it is perfect to go to the gym if you wanted to do it there, or you can do it at your house. And you get lifetime access to every single program when you're in it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about momentum. Oh, no, I talk about it here. The next program cycle that I wanted to chat about, this hypertrophy one that I was talking about with strength training, is going to begin on February 17th, a new 10-week cycle. And we're doing exactly what I was just talking about. It's a lean building program. So know that in Momentum, if you're in it, we're going to be doing a lean building program to get us ready for the spring, to feel our best, to feel badass, to have muscle gains and fat loss. We're going to be doing this starting February 17th. That goes all the way into February, March, April. Bonus, if you want to, by January 31st, 50% off the first month, automatically taken off if you're a part of Momentum. Amazing, you're already in it. But if you join by January 31st, you get to secure the current price, which is $111. It will go up February 1st when more programs go in, because the more programs I have in there, the more valuable the program membership gets. So just wanted to chat about that. And your homework, which I'm going to give you, right, is I would love for you to schedule this into your week. Strength training, right? This is a straight out of Momentum. I know there are 2 of you are in here that are in Momentum, but I'm giving a lower body workout for anyone that is not in Momentum so that you can try it out. It's 20 minutes. It's not as long as what it will be, but I just wanted to show you what it can be like to work out from home. So I will send that in a recording tomorrow for you. But I would love for you guys to do some strength training, prioritizing at least 3 times a week. If it's not this week, right, slowly start adding that in. And then steady state cardio, which I would love for you to do, is 1 to 3 times this week, 30 to 60 minutes. Walk as if you're late. That is the best way to do it. Another thing that you can do if you wanted to increase it too is you can wear like a weighted vest or a backpack and walk as if you're late, because it adds more weight without carrying weight, right? And then you can either do a slow jog, bike, etc. This is going to allow you to stay in that fat burning stage. So if you wanted to use your bike, Mary, I know you said that you cycle with Peloton. You can do a steady state. I'm sure they have steady state cardio Peloton things on the app in that stage. It's zone 2 training, it's also called. You can also find something there. That would be very helpful to keep your heart rate at that level. And then average 1,000 steps more than you did last week on average. So if you go to your health app, I'm going to look at my phone right now. If you go on your health app and you go to your summary, show all data to your steps, and you go down, it will tell you how many, on average, how much steps you did. For last week, I did average 10,375 steps. So my goal would be to do like an average of 11,000 steps this week and just see what happens when that happens. Because the more we can stay in these recovery walks, the more you're going to feel, the more you're going to see results. So I would love for you to try out this lower body. I'm going to send it to you tomorrow along with this recording so that you have access to this forever. And you can come back to it. I know I spoke a lot, but next week, before we talk about questions or not next week, on Wednesday, we're going to be at 6 p.m. We're going to be doing macros. So we're going to be specifically talking about protein. I'm going to highlight carbs, proteins, and fat, but we're going to talk about macros and what's the benefit of the nutrition in terms of fat loss, right? I really want you to know that it's not just nutrition and it's not just movement. You have to do both as well as other things, but in order for you to continue this fat loss. Because as I mentioned, strength training, you will build muscle, but it is a stressor and it breaks down the muscle. When we learn about on Wednesday, protein helps rebuild the muscle, and we're going to talk about that a lot. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to chat a little bit. If anyone has any questions, I know I just rambled a lot, but I would love to hear from you. Tell me your takeaways. What do you need answered?
I have a question about protein because I'm a pescatarian. So will that be incorporated into the protein section that you're going to go over on Wednesday?
Absolutely. You're talking about
Okay.
you just eat fish, or do you also eat eggs?
I'll eat eggs.
And you eat cheese too?
I try not to, but I will. Yeah.
You don't have to, right? Like if it feels like it's
Right.
expected by you. But yeah, I used to be a pescatarian. That was what I was when I was boxing. So that's all I ate. I also didn't really enjoy eating meat, but in terms of protein, fish is great. So eat more of that. Any other questions? Let me just look at the chat. This was
One
I
thing
I have another question but let somebody else go.
Karen, I feel like on social media, there's such an emphasis on protein right now of like 133 grams of protein. I know some people do those types of, I guess, diets where they're trying to get like a bazillion grams of protein. What's your take on that?
I will tell you next week, but I'm going to tell you now because I know that you're going to be doing dinner. So, so in terms of protein, right? Let me just X this out. Let me talk about it. I'm going to keep it recorded. So in terms of protein, I don't think you need to do 133 grams. Like this 1 pound per gram, 1 gram per pound of body weight is like, if you're an athlete and you want to, like that's a very like high level of protein is for like athletes. I used to try to strive for that. And when like seeing my clients, many people like just getting 30 grams of protein per meal. And the reason why that's so important is because it's going to turn on this amino acid called leucine, which directly puts the protein into your muscles, right? If we don't get 30 grams of protein and we're having some protein and we're not eating enough, what you did in the gym, you're not getting the benefits of building up the muscle. So you want to aim for at least 30 grams of protein per meal, hoping that we eat at least 3 meals, right? When I say that, sometimes people are like, oh, 30 grams of protein per meal. I'm like, oh, how much are you eating? They're like, I'm only having like 1 meal. I'm like, okay, cool. So like starting with 2 meals would be great, right? So you want to make sure that you're at least having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then aiming for 25, 30, 40. You can exceed 30 grams of protein. I don't think you need to exceed more than 50 grams of protein per meal. Some people are like, give me all the meat. Like that to me also isn't really gonna help you thrive. I think there's a threshold between like 25 to 50 grams of protein per meal. Obviously, that's going to be really hard for someone that doesn't eat meat. I know you do, but in terms of someone that's like a vegetarian, it's also going to be very hard. But also their goal might not be to be the most ripped person, or whatever your goals are, it's going to match what you want for your protein levels. So if you're looking to lose weight, definitely eat more protein because that's also going to help with fat loss. I don't think it needs to be long-winded answer 130, whatever your body weight is, but 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. So I always get this wrong. I'm 133, so like 67 pounds, right? Something like that. I don't know, 68 pounds, 68 grams of protein, right? That's low. If you go any lower than that per day, you're not getting the recommended dietary nutrients you need in order for your body to function optimally. Things will start to not work well. And that's when, and especially as we age, you need more protein in order to hit it. Just like your metabolism won't slow down, it just takes more effort, I would say, as we age to make sure that it is primed and revved and going. So in terms of protein, like just hit the 30 grams and eat 3 meals a day. You'll hit 90 grams every single day, and you'll probably just feel overall great and see better results. I also think it's really important, which I'm now getting into a rabbit hole, but in terms of with protein is you want to also make sure that you're eating carbohydrates too, right? Especially if we're moving and we're eating super low. This is where like that keto and the Atkins and all that kind of come into where it kind of gets in this gray area when you're eating a lot of protein, but then you're not eating enough carbs to energize you for your workouts. You start to feel drained, and then that's when we end up restricting and binging later on during the day when we're not actually fueling our body. So I'll give you a little tip too. In terms of protein, right? You want to be like 30 grams of protein, have like 30 grams of carbohydrates with that too. Don't have just 30 grams of protein and like minimal carbs. Honestly, we'll probably all hit carbohydrates easily. It's really easy to hit our carbohydrates. We all love carbs, right? But you also don't want to exceed too much. Like when the ratio becomes like 3-to-1 carbs to protein, your body's also going to start, their blood sugar is going to start going on this roller coaster wave, and it's not going to stay steady. And that's when we're like, oh, I want the treats. And then we end up wanting more because we're not regulated. So it's like this fine line, and it's really important as we start, right? Like obviously I don't want you tracking macros because then that also becomes obsessive. I've never really tracked macros before, but I know just by looking at food now, like how much 30 grams is. In the beginning, for mindfulness purposes and just to make yourself aware, it could be helpful to just track your food in the beginning. And then once you're a creature of habit, you'll probably have similar foods all the time. You'll know what the serving sizes are and like where you are, and like when you're eating too much, you'll feel it in your body like, whoa, I ate way too many carbohydrates today, or I feel kind of sick. And then that's kind of where we are, because what happens when we aren't mindful, we just think that our baseline is always feeling like crap, versus when we start to eat more protein and we start to like see the results, we're like, wow, I didn't really know I could feel this good, because we've been living this way forever and that's our new normal. I'm going to stop talking. Does that make sense?
Yes, very helpful. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome. Anyway, Mary, I know you had a question too.
I just wanted to confirm something that I thought you had said about the weighted vest. If you do that while you're walking, that will still keep you in the calm state? Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes they call them like ruck walks, like Marine. I think it's based off of the Marines, and it's like they wear like a 20, like they wear their armor, right?
Yeah.
If you put like, I wouldn't do 20 pounds. I think that's a little excessive. I would do it because I'm excessive, but like in terms of like maybe like 10 pounds, you can get a 20-pound vest that have the ones that you can remove 5 pounds, and you can walk on the boardwalk, and it allows you just to add more weight, but then you're moving, and that kind of like makes you, some people like want to sweat a little bit, right? Like that just kind of adds more strength component to, it adds a more resistance to your walk.
Okay.
Especially like, I mean, for me, Honey, and my dog, is a resistance because she's running with me sometimes in pulls. But like in terms of that, you can make it more of like a resistance cardio training. Like the moment you start to feel like I'm like out of breath and you can't have a conversation, like it's really great social thing to do because you're talking with a friend. If you can talk, you're at the right level. But if it's like too easy to talk, Then it's a recovery walk, which is fine. You're getting in more steps, but you're not going to be at that fat burning stage that most people miss out on. And I wish, Kelly, like for surfing, like that to me is not like steady state, because you're paddling and going, unless it's like a very easy, fun, cruisy day. I feel like continuously paddling would be great, but you don't do that. But the walks that I know you do a lot, like I know you could book it. That would be like a great way to keep that maintenance going and then increase the weights. I know, Mary, you got a 12-pound kettlebell, right? Continuously. If the weight feels easy, your body's going to not, like your body isn't going to be challenged enough for you to see it. But if it's too challenging, right? If you're that type of person, because I am also that type of person, wants to push myself because I know I can. If I continuously do that in an unsafe way, then I'm going to push myself to the brink. But you want it to be like, think like 2 reps in the tank is a really great way to see for strength training if you're at the right weight. So let's say you're doing a squat and you have 10 reps that you're doing. If you have 2 left in the tank, but you only have 2 more, that's like the perfect weight for you. If you are fighting through each rep, it's too heavy. If it's like, I could do this in my sleep, too light. So finding the weight, and if you feel like, another thing that you can do if you don't want to invest in weights, you can slow down. So like, say I'm doing a squat, I can like go down super, super, super slow, come up super, super, super slow. And then that completely changes the tempo, and I can do the same amount of reps, but it will feel harder than if I were to just go up and down like quickly. So many different things, right? But look up bodybuilding hypertrophy workouts. They're so boring, but they do work, in terms, I think it's like the best bang for your buck in terms of strength training. So if you are interested though, like that's what's going to come up in the pipeline. I mean, Mary, you're going to see it in the program on. Technically what we're doing now is hypertrophy, but it's we're only doing 25 to 30 minutes right now just to get our bodies used to it before we do the bigger program. So, yeah, that is it.
Do you do any in any of your programs, like any like meal planning, like ideas, things like that?
In my mentorship that I was just chatting about, I will. And I'm going to be talking about that on Wednesday. So if you are interested in that, that is coming.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Nice job, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, very great. This is great.
You guys will get this video tomorrow, and I will send in there too that workout for you to do as well, so that you have that. And then on Wednesday, I'm also going to give some bonuses. I know you're talking about recipes. That's the bonus for like the next time. You'll get that as well. All right. Have a great night, ladies.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.